Welcome to the Channel Surfers. I'm John McCabe, and I'm joined as always by my co-host and really good friend, Jeff Lennon. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, I'm doing great, John. Thanks.
Jeff, today we have a very special guest. Our guest is the author or co-author of Nearbound, The Rise of the Who Economy. It's a book that we both firmly believe in and are Nearbound nerds, but the book is it's redefining how companies think about partnerships, trust, and influence in a modern sales landscape. Our guest is a thought leader in partner ecosystems. He is the founder and CEO of Nearbound.com, and he's previously held partnerships or previous held leadership positions at Pavilion, Drift, and PandaDoc. Without further ado, I want to introduce our very special guest, Jared Fuller. Jared, how are you?
Doing great. What's up, everybody? Great to be here. It's fun to be back. Haven't talked partnerships in a hot minute.
Yeah. So, Jared, just a quick, maybe an update for the audience. I saw on LinkedIn today, but it might have been a post from last week, where you mentioned you've been out of pocket recently, kind of doing some work behind the scenes, and now you're back out in the world. And maybe if you give the audience a little bit of an update of what you've been doing lately.
Yeah. So kind of the quick story as it relates to the partner ecosystem. I started a podcast 4 or 5 years ago called Partner Up. And there wasn't really much by way of partnerships podcasts. That became Partner Hacker with my business partner, Isaac Morehouse, and I. And then Partner Hacker, we were acquired in short order by Reveal. And then we flipped everything and turned it into Nearbound, Nearbound.com, the Nearbound Daily, the Nearbound Podcast, the Nearbound Summit, right? We had the PLX Summit the year before. And we did a great job. And really, I think the community did. I've always said that I believed that, it's not my saying, but I believed that, language is a network effect. So outbound, inbound, Nearbound, like Nearbound was it. I heard it. It was actually Reveal that announced it, I think at a partnership leaders event the year prior, like, hey, we're announcing the category of Nearbound. And I immediately went and bought Nearbound.com. I was like, that's it. And we turned everything into Nearbound, and then Reveal was acquired by Crossbeam. So it was like mission accomplished, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was a crazy fast run over 2 years. And we kind of did our job, and Crossbeam, is going in a different direction with ecosystem-led growth. No commentary from me on the behind the scenes of what transpired there. I'll keep my mouth shut. You can read between the lines there.
Quiet,
yeah, you can read between the lines there. But I have nothing but love for Crossbeam and the team over there. Still a shareholder, so I'm wishing them the best. And Isaac Morehouse and I decided to partner up and jump into another business, which is OpenEd. So I actually exited the partnership space proper, but I'm running 100% Nearbound business. So I'm a partner and COO at OpenEd.co alongside Isaac. We transitioned and took over the business from the founders in July of 2024. We have about 140 employees, dozens of millions in revenue. I won't give you the specific number, but significant. This is not just a tiny startup. And we're running a profitable business. There's no VC. There's no outside ownership. And it's 100% partner driven. So like I'm living the story that I preached for years. Right. Like I didn't just go into another business and go, actually, this partnership Nearbound stuff doesn't work. It's like we took over a business that was 100% Nearbound driven, and turns out partnerships work.
It's kind of the practical application of it. I mean, it's just and not to cut you off, but I just want to throw this out there, right? I mean, for me, when John first, by the way, I mean, the whole premise of this, just to give a little backstory and I appreciate that update. For me, the backstory is, I never even heard of this. John introduced me to the book. When we had the pre-call and I shared that with you, I don't think people understand, like I was completely blown away by the book. Right. And I've helped people like look at this book, right. I've had people buy the book, and I think what you just kind of hit on is, where I'd like to kind of maybe peel that back a little bit, because what we're hoping to do here, part of the goal, right, of our podcast is educating people. Right. And for me, I've been doing this stuff. I've been doing channel for probably 25 years. And when I read the book last September, like my brain exploded, because I was like, oh my God, I've been living this. Like, I've been actually doing a lot of the things that you put in the book and the processes. And so for me, it was a very kind of epiphany, profound moment when I read the book. And I to John's point, he calls us Nearbound nerds. So with that, I mean, part of it is I want to understand a little bit of the genesis, right? Because you shared some stuff, and I'd like for you to share that with the audience. Like, what was kind of the genesis behind that? Because it does work. I mean, I'm telling you right now, it's getting people to buy into it working, because it's not like a silver bullet and you drop it and it works. So I'd really kind of like to, get feedback from you. What was the genesis, and then how are you kind of leveraging it today, which you just started to share? I didn't mean to cut you off there, but anyway, hopefully that kind of helps.
Yeah. Let's define Nearbound. And why did we make that decision? Like, I think the most misunderstood word in all of business is strategy. Strategy is merely choice, right? And not all choices are equal. If we can agree on that first principle, then it makes sense to make the right choices, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
And for us, it was a strategic imperative to nail the category, the lexicon, the language, the definition, to build a foundation in which we could grow from. And so why did we choose Nearbound? Well, it was one of those aha moments where you knew it, and then the acquisition of Partner Hacker happened, and we went to announce it, and it was like, well, wait a second, what does Nearbound mean? It was like the word was right, but then like, let's define it. And I think I've said this probably hundreds of times. I think why Nearbound became so important was due to the following statement: that partnerships should not be a department, but a strategy, i.e. a choice of every department. Right?
I love that.
It needs to be something that you inculcate in every department. And it has a different remit. Outbound, inbound, nearbound. What was true about the two previous iterations of go-to-market? Outbound was precipitated by what? The invention of the database, the CRM, right? We could take all of our sales activities internally, and then we could look at the outside world, look at the market, and go, hey, we can go out to them, right? And then inbound was like, hey, we can automate, marketing automation, right? We can reach them and pull them into our company. And those two previous iterations, what was true about both of them is that the company was on the inside and the customer was on the outside. Nearbound approaches this the opposite way. Nearbound, in a word, is surround, right? That means that the market is on the inside. That's the lens by which you're viewing everything. Is the market is first. The market always wins. And who is going to win in this world is the ones that surround their customers with the people, the voices that they already trust, right? Versus putting the company at the center and the customer on the outside. It's an inversion of the two previous iterations of go-to-market.
So, Jared, just a quick question. You've seen companies that have tried to implement Nearbound, and what do you think these organizations that don't have success, where are they getting it wrong? What are they not doing that's really helping the Nearbound methodology work for them?
I would challenge that. I've seen very few companies try to implement Nearbound. I think I've seen the vast majority of companies try to implement a partnerships motion, right? And then that partnerships motion, they hire one person, a couple people, and maybe we should, at some point, we can disambiguate channel versus partnerships, right? IT, distro native world of channel versus SaaS native world of partnerships, because these are two different worlds, right? When you say the channel surfers and channel, I would distinguish that as being SaaS native. That's actually different. They're different GTMs. But as I've seen it, most people that are, let's say, fast growing startups, that you mentioned Pavilion earlier, good group of folks, or, GTM and that crowd, like, I think that they've all wanted partnerships, but they haven't made that realization that it's not a partnerships person. It's not a partnerships team. It's, what is the CMO doing? It starts there. It starts with your market. Like, one of my biggest bones to pick is anytime I hear a CMO and they're talking about their marketing activities, I'm like, you're over indexed on the ING. What about the market? You don't understand the market. You don't live in market. You don't breathe those customers. How do I know this? I mean, I've told this story dozens of times, but I'll tell it again because it's so dang good. It illustrates the point. I was presenting to a room of 200 CMOs. I have no idea why they let me in that room other than to tick them all off, I guess. And I asked the audience, I said, hey, I want to know, someone in the audience, raise your hand and tell me who you sell to. Someone raised their hand and they said CIOs. And I said, fantastic. How many people on your marketing team do you have? And he said like 30. It's like, fantastic. How many people on your marketing team have been CIOs? None. So then what gives your marketing team the right to publish content that tells the CIO how to be a better CIO, much less even be a crappy CIO?
Yeah.
You have no authority here. That's why your marketing's not working. It's not told through the voice of the customer. It's told through you. And it's such an undeniable fact. It's like, that's why marketing isn't working. You're over-indexing on the ING instead of the market. And you can apply that to sales. You can apply it to success. You can apply it to product, each department, right? I opened up with saying that Nearbound and partnership should be a strategy for every department. Well, let's start with the market team and marketing, because then that flows through to sales. It flows through to success. It flows through to, product.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. That's interesting because, marketing, I don't want to knock marketing. I mean, they're important to the sales and channel organizations, but I feel sometimes they don't understand what we do, and they want to just push what they know, right? And you're kind of highlighting that point, that they're just trying to get out there and get their message that they think is the message that should be articulated to the sales world, or to the buying world, I should say.
I don't want to go. I don't want to trash.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
Marketing, no. But I do want to trash, and I will trash, just the garbage marketing that is happening today. It's not good. Like, let me give you an example of what great looks like, and then we can contrast that to what it doesn't look like. What great looks like is what Pete Caputa did with Databox. It's a case study in the book. Pete was the first VP of partnerships at HubSpot, and it is objectively the best partner program in a SaaS native world. Right, the HubSpot partner program is hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, platform ecosystem company. At the time of publishing my book, they had never missed an earnings call. Right, like, really great company. So Pete starts Databox, or takes over as CEO at a couple million in revenue. And let me tell you something. What Pete did was Nearbound marketing. Pete had a content team, a marketing team of 3 people. 3, not 30, not 300, not 3,000, of 3. And they generated 1 million hits a month on their website by doing what? Not by 3 people producing content, but by 3 people making their partners famous, right? So they would go out and they would do benchmark groups, and they'd get 5 agencies. And then they would publish something that was produced by 5 agencies. Now, what did those 5 agencies have? Those 5 agencies had people that were not the audience of Databox, i.e. net new. And they made them the content distribution arm by making it easy, right? Nearbound marketing is about making it easy and making it great. Like, hey, I want to produce content with you, right? And that was the story of them. And they grew a phenomenal business that was profitable at hundreds of employees, without VC dollars, right? All Nearbound. And it works fantastic. So, like, that's Nearbound marketing. And then I talked to a 30, 50, 100 person marketing team, and they're like, whoa, like, if a 3-person marketing team can do that, you can do that. The reality is you just haven't thought of it that way.
Yeah. It's funny to hear you say that, like, when you just talked about strategy, it's a choice. What I found interesting in what you described, and I'm going to kind of throw a question here at the end, but we all talk about having a channel strategy, right? And what you just described to me is it has to be strategic, right? Just changing that little aspect at the end. It needs to be strategic, which means it has to be basically pervasive across all the groups in the organization. It has to start at the top and come down. This is how we're going to do it. To your point, taking that team of 3, hyper-focused, executing on what they're trying to do. That's where the bigger teams fall short, because they're trying, they're just, in my opinion, like, they kind of spread it out, but there's no strategic vision or focus to say, hey, this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to build that business. Everybody wants to build a business, drive revenue, right? But I think
let me expand on that a little further because it drives the point home. Like, I mean, specifically about strategy, I talk about these 3 C's, and it's a scale: curiosity, courage, and conviction, right? So like most CEOs aren't curious about this. They're like, hey, put it over there. Like, tell me whenever it's making money, when it's 10% of revenue. Tell me whenever it's working, right? And then they don't want to dedicate that courage to take the risk, much less the conviction. Pete had it the opposite. He had full conviction. He was like, I'm all in. This is going to work. And whenever you go all in on something versus someone that is not even remotely curious, who's going to win? It's that conviction. The person that's like, I know this is going to work. I would never want to go up against someone that was convicted when I'm not even curious, much less courageous. You know, like, you're just not going to win. You're going to get your butt handed to you. So what was the outcome of that data box program is that 3-person marketing team produced content with over 1,000 people in 1 year. Wow. That's my point. That, like, how could you not look at that and go, oh, that's how we should do it? How did Partner Hacker, how did I grow that to the fastest growing media company in B2B history? Because I produce content with hundreds and thousands of people. I threw a 5-day event. In less than 90 days, this brand, PLX, didn't exist. 90 days later, I had a 5-day conference. I had 120 speakers, right? Across every department: partner-led marketing, partner-led sales, partner-led success, partner-led product, partner-led startup, right? And I brought the voices from people that were doing these things to the forefront. It wasn't just me. It wasn't my... Partner Hacker was a team of 7 people. You know, like, this wasn't, and we had over 5,000 people at that event that watched, you know, like, the median, this is a 5-day event. The median watch time was like 14 hours. So people were taking 14 hours out of that week to watch this content, which was absurd. Again, because it's about them. It's surrounding them, and it's making those voices. Like, we were able to reach people that weren't in my database. It's like, here's the other wild thing. When you're thinking about marketing, you're typically thinking of my database. Well, that's already your database. So how are you reaching other people? The only way to reach other people is through other people, right? Otherwise, just email your list, right? Just post to your followers. Like, you have to go through other people. That's just it. Once you realize that, you're like, oh, I need to be curious on how to make this work better, courageous to place bets, and then have the conviction to empower my team with that mandate. So, like, partner attach rate, if we go past marketing into sales or anything else, I start to say, like, how much revenue do you want from partnerships? And the people say 1/3. Well, then guess what? It's math, not magic. I don't see any CMOs or CEOs or CROs pulling rabbits out of a hat. Then 1/3 of your marketing activities better have a partner attached. Duh. Like, it's not that simple. 1/3 of your sales better have a partner attached. 1/3 of your implementations better have a partner attached. If not, how do you expect that to work?
That's a great point.
It's so really simple, right? You know, they're just like, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. It's like, if partners aren't, if you want 1/3 of your revenue to be partner driven, then it has to start at the top of the funnel. The 1/3 of your content minimum must be that.
So let me ask you this, because I'm just wondering, like, you know, with the, you know, AI transforming sales and marketing and everything we do, right? How do you see AI enhancing or disrupting, you know, a Nearbound strategy, or, you know, any kind of, you know, enhancing it? Like, what do you see AI as a disruptor for that?
I see as an AI as a disruptor for almost everything else, and making partnerships even more important. I don't see, not to say there won't be, but I don't see an AI use case for partnerships on its face. I mean, there's certain ways that you could, like, if you're needing to produce sell sheets because you're doing a co-sell or whatever, and it can consolidate things faster, like basically day-to-day activities of the average employee. Like, you know, it's that adage that's, you know, only a couple years old now, but is still true, is like, AI won't take your job, but someone who's using AI will take your job. Like, everyone should be using AI for their day-to-day tasks. Like, I was just filling out insurance applications for my business, and I'm like uploading my contracts and asking, you know, GPT, like, hey, you know, my indemnification, you know, like this, like getting a partner to work through stuff. But like, as it relates to partnerships, I don't. I think the point is that more than ever, you know, I mentioned in the book, like, AI is making the outbound era and the inbound era worse, not better. In 2023, we're 2 years later now. In 2023, the Deloitte State of Marketing report. So this is not some like SaaS company state of marketing report. It's Deloitte. The average American receives anywhere between 800 and 10,000 ad impressions per day.
Wow.
You know, like, how do you break through? AI is only making it worse. These AI agents for sales, like, it's making outbound less effective. It's making inbound content less effective. Everyone's a content creator. So what are people craving? They're craving the following. Trust comes from people. Trust comes from helping people reach their promised land. But the ironic part is we only trust those who've been to the places we want to go. So who is like me that's done the thing that I'm trying to do? You better identify those people, and you better create content with those people. You better sell with those people, and you better serve with those people, because that is more important. AI can't fake that. AI isn't a person that was a IT director that became a CIO. But guess what? This person is like, I partnered with this woman, Jill Rowley. She's like the queen of SaaS, right? Yeah. She was like, Eloqua's #1 sales rep. I can't, and she, co-authored the book in part with me. I can't impart on you how big of a legend Jill is. When Eloqua crossed $100 million in revenue, Jill Rowley had sold over 40% of all sales. That has never I've never even heard of anyone remotely as close to that. And single AE did 40% of all sales, right? So like, when it comes to producing content that is going to reach an AE, a CRO, are they going to trust me? Or are they going to trust Jill? Like, there's a reason why I went out and I was like, I'm going to convince Jill that this is the way. And she's like, you know what, Jared? The way that I used to sell Nearbound. You're right. I agree with you. I had to bring people into deals that were my former customers who'd already experienced that. I had to bring in partners that did my implementations. Actually, this is right. So whenever I would speak with Jill, people would listen. That's my point, is that we only trust people who've been to the places that we want to go.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
That's awesome. I wrote that. One of the things you'll notice, if anybody ever watches, I'm constantly writing. So you threw out a couple interesting nuggets that I just blew me away. But I get that whole and like I'm telling you, I when I read the book, I said the same thing. Like, oh my God, this is how I've been able to be successful. This is how John and I met, because I was his partner manager.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
14 years ago, John, or 12, 15 years ago, right? So crazy, right? But that's kind of how we met. So well, first of all, man, I'm like riveted. I don't even think we're gonna get it. I don't think we have enough time to kind of peel back the layers on all the cool shit that I want to talk to you about. But so here's what I'm looking for.
Go ahead. Do it,
John, if you don't mind, I'm hijacking right now. But so when I think about Nearbound, right, and the whole strategy, the challenge that I see is, people talk about strategy. They use the word, they throw it out. Hey, I said the word strategy, so therefore we're doing it. But from your perspective, right, now that you've done this and you've been successful with it a couple of times and you're doing it again, when you talk to other people or you see things, even, kind of like a drive-by, what do you see as the top 3 what are the top 3 challenges that you're seeing businesses facing today trying to move to a Nearbound strategy? And maybe there's more, but I love the fact that you gave the 3 C's. I saw the other podcast you did with that venture group, and you used the 3 C's. I already have it in my little cheat sheet of lists, because I'm a big 3 guy. I love the power of 3. But anyway, so my question is, what do you see as the top 3 challenges facing a business that is trying to shift or move to a Nearbound strategy?
I mean, the first thing is going to be inertia. The status quo, there's so few people that are like the Elons of this world that are willing to tear things down and do things like zero-based budgeting, right? That are willing to tear the house down to its foundation, to its posts, and really rethink what they've been doing, because they don't believe in the world, like in that future world. It's like they don't want to do the hard work. But I think more specifically, I broke this down early on. I think it was a post that I'd written called "Partner Up and Play to Win: The Art of Strategic Alliances." I'd say that inertia is one, and I won't expand on that too much because it's just boring and me trash talking more. But I think the other one is the importance, the importance of strategic alliances. There's that word strategy again, right? Like, I think the first thing you need to be able to do is you need to be able to win inside of an ecosystem, right? An ecosystem is just an established place of relationships, right? And vendors and providers and consumers and influencers and people. Like, you need to be able to go win inside of one before creating your own. So I think that would be the first thing, is like, people go like, oh, we're going to create an ecosystem, or we're going to become a platform. And it's like, well, can you do that in someone else's first? So in this post that I'd written, and I think I covered a little bit in the book as well, Nearbound, how the art of strategic alliances, like, you need to go find that sumo and go all in and make a strategic choice. There's this framework called playing to win. And playing to win, I plagiarize a lot, unshamedly. It's about the art of strategic choice making, which is simply, where will we play? Again, Nearbound is a market-based thing. So like, most people don't know where they're going to play. And I truly do mean that. They're like, we need customers. Okay, right. Where? Okay, like, pick an ecosystem, pick a market. And that comes before your product. Like, most people put their product, they're a bunch of hammers looking for nails. Who wants this thing? Who wants this thing? They can market it, they can sell it, they can service it. And it's like, no, where will we play? Then the next question is, how will we win? Then the next question is, what capabilities must be in place in order for us to win? Like, have you actually gone through and answered those three questions? No, most people haven't at all. Yeah. And like, in order for you to strategically execute, you need to start there. Where will we play? Okay. At Drift, for example, I did this at PandaDoc and I did this at Drift. And it was my two most important, all else paled in comparison to at PandaDoc, me saying, we're going all in on HubSpot. And I made that choice. I stuck my reputation on it. I stuck PandaDoc's reputation on it. And in fact, at the time, HubSpot they'd just gone public, but they hadn't even launched CRM really. It just came out that it was free.
Wow.
And I picked them over everyone else because I had, it's like, they are going to win. And we became their number one partner. We got in their onboarding flow. Like, every single time someone signed up for HubSpot CRM for free, they'd get an email that said, hey, close more deals with PandaDoc. Right? And that email went out to 40,000 people a week. Now, I can't tell you how big that was for us. It was massive for us. And I'll walk you through the formula. So like, what mistakes do people make is they don't do things like this. Is like, in order to win a strategic alliance, you have to understand what is a top 3 CEO pain point. I'll give you this formula. So like, what to Brian Halligan was a top 3, like, not to my partner manager, but to Brian Halligan. It was, we must convert trial to paid at HubSpot, right? Because this is a free CRM. So we need to be able to do this. Okay, now what metrics move trial to paid? Well, I wouldn't found that out. It's not like HubSpot had that. I've worked with them and we found out that moving a deal in HubSpot CRM to closed won was 7 times more likely to convert a trial user to a paid user, right?
Wow.
Okay, so then PandaDoc was e-signature software. So if you had PandaDoc in there and they had that, we were 7 times more likely to close a deal.
Wow.
Okay, so then who is affected by that metric? The account executives. So then I went and I got with all of the account executives and I showed them that, hey, we get these deals closed, you're going to convert that person. Give them a call after they've called their first deal. That is a 10 times better lead than someone that's, stuck. So that's what people don't do. They don't spend the time to make the right choice. So if I walk you through that fast, HubSpot's strategic imperative, right? Strategic alliances, strategic imperative. Their strategic imperative is, we just went public, we launched free CRM. We must be able to show the market that we can convert these free users to paid users. The number one most important metric for them is to move a deal to closed won. The most important thing is to get a signed deal, i.e. PandaDoc, boom, formula, account executives. And guess who was telling HubSpot that this thing worked? Not me, the account executives. So when I went and I asked to be, I called Brad Coffey, their chief strategy officer. I'm in an apartment in San Francisco that was the office that I lived in. So this is how small we were. And this is a public company. And I cold called him, and he finally got through to him. And I said, Brad, in less than 1 year, I'm going to be your number one partner globally, and you're going to try to buy me. And he's like, you sound crazy, kid. Yeah. And guess what? Less than 1 year from that date, I had Brad on a plane to Minsk, Belarus, negotiating the acquisition of PandaDoc. And we ended up turning them down, but HubSpot was an investor in our Series B. HubSpot Ventures was formed, and we were the first ever venture check cut by HubSpot.
Wow.
I love when crazy wins, man.
I mean, but that's my point, is that's the formula. Figure out that formula. I could tell you the exact same formula that I did with Drift and Marketo. I did the exact same thing. So what are people doing? It's status quo. It's inertia. I think the second thing is strategic alliances. And I think the third thing that people aren't doing is they treat it as a sales thing. I started this rant at the beginning with marketing. You got to start with marketing. Like if you're talking about co-selling and it's all CRO driven, you're DOA. It starts with the market. It starts with marketing. It's the funnel. It's the market. If you're starting with sales, you're so screwed. You need to start with CMO alignment, not CRO alignment.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that about your PandaDoc HubSpot story, because I was with a company called Third Party Trust. We did third-party security questionnaires, and we used integrations with our alliance partners to build them into the back end to feed risk scoring and the threat intel that we needed to complete the questionnaires, and it worked so well. We actually would exchange leads with these tech alliance partners, and we closed so much business, and we were doing so well with one of them, BitSite, that they ended up acquiring us. So I see a lot of like the similarities, and it's so rewarding and eye-opening when you're able to do your job and still create opportunities for another company, or they bring opportunities to you. It was such a mutually beneficial relationship that we had.
All great acquisitions come from partnerships, by the way. So like you want to be valued as a strategic member of your organization. Like I participated in M&A as the head of partnerships in two unicorn companies, PandaDoc and Drift. You know, like I got my CEO, my CRO, my CTO, my co-founders in the room with Shantanu, the CEO of Adobe, who's best friends with Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, and created a bidding war between Adobe and Vista, you know, the largest private equity firm for tech in the world, and Adobe, the largest marketing company in the world. Like partnerships made that happen. It wasn't direct sales.
Yeah.
You know, like that's your power as a channel leader, as a partner leader. You should be thinking of like market first, right? Like M&A, like strategic. You have the ability to do things for your business that no one else other than your CEO has the ability to do.
Yeah. Great point.
Damn.
So we're coming up on time. Jeff, do you have any final thoughts or questions for Jared before we sign off?
So I'll just kind of summarize, man. I mean, I wrote it down, and you did say this in the podcast I listened to probably about a month ago, right? Curiosity, courage, and conviction, right? When you just walk through that whole story, that was all three. And for me, curiosity, like I tell every salesperson, every channel person, partner, you got to be curious, right? If you're not curious, then you're not going to ask questions, and everybody thinks, you know, it has to be the right question, but you just got to be curious. You got to want to know. Absolutely. You got to understand, because you don't know what you don't know. But for me, that and like I said, I love the power of three stuff, but the courage is you got to believe in yourself, right? I mean, this is just my takeaway, and I'm thinking it's great because like I said, I love the power of three, but that courage is you have the belief of what you're doing, and you did your homework because you were curious. But when you talked about, when you made that statement, right, and the guy said you were crazy, that is conviction. And because you believe it, that it's going to happen. And then you make it happen by the efforts that you put in. So like I said, when I went back and I asked about the top three challenges, I actually see that as the three challenges. People don't even execute on those things. I mean, and then getting into, you know, the leadership and having people buy in, Jared, it's, you know, I tell people to read the book, and I get it. Having lived it, you know, I've read it twice, and now I flip through the book. I think John actually has little Post-it notes on pages. And for me, the takeaway is, you know, helping people understand that I think being curious and wanting to learn and be better. I mean, you got to do that every day. And that's how I see, like, that was a big takeaway for me, is that's something I was getting out of this book. But maybe we'll have to have you back, because I still see, for me, the challenge, right, and we're not going to have time here, is helping people figure out how to overcome that. And my number one takeaway right now is, if you don't have the executive sponsorship buy into this approach, strategy, being strategic, leveraging the partners, I don't see it working. No. And by the way, when you talked a moment ago about the AI stuff, I'll just throw a little joke in there. I mean, this is what I do at night. I'm just sitting there deleting emails, right? I'm just doing that sweat. My wife thinks I'm on Tinder, and I'm like, nope, just deleting emails. Like, I don't even read them, right? And I hate to say that to people, and that's a lot of my personal stuff, but the influx of information is just overloaded. And I do, when you do buy something, whether it's a car, whether it's software, you're going to talk to somebody who's either done it, used it, so that you can get that personal touch, and you can get that reference. And I think it's severely overlooked in the business today.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll leave you with one. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jared. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I was going to leave with one little thing. I got this cool message from, because we're talking to the channel world. Y'all know Jay McBain, right?
Yep. Love Jay. Yep.
Of course. Jay McBain sent me this note, and I might get in trouble for sharing it, but I'm going to share it anyways. I don't care. It's fun. So this will be a fun clip.
Redacted.
Yeah. Jay sent me a note, and he says, I got approached by my CEO. So this is Jay's CEO of Informa Tech. It's a Fortune-sized company who acquired them, Gary Nugent. And Gary said that he is reading Nearbound and is making it required reading for his entire staff. We acquired TechTarget, Channel Futures, Omdia, among several other companies, and are creating basically a Nearbound strategy, just to let you know that billions of dollars of decisions are still being made based around your book. So if the godfather of channel, his CEO is reading Nearbound, there's something there, right? Like, and that's what Jay does. He gets his CEO aligned to it. And although Jay can speak to this 10 times better than I can in the channel world, Nearbound and that framing in that book is still helping guide that executive staff. So to have the curiosity, the courage to like go inculcate that across your leadership team. That's really my clarion call to partner and channel leaders. If you're listening to this, if you're not getting your C-suite curious and being courageous about it, like, no, until we align on this, I am going to be a broken record. And that's where it takes a little courage. Otherwise, you're going to have to fire me. And it's like, that's scary. Like, you got to be that, that person that's just not willing to budge on it. So I share that, not to oust Jay or anything, just because it is that important, like even Jay, who you think like, oh, they got it all figured out. Even his CEO was reading the book.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Just such an amazing story. And Jay, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on as a guest. But
Jay's the GOAT. Jay's the GOAT. I'm a young prodigy. Jay's taught me so much. So
I've heard him speak. I don't know how many times. He goes to Catalyst for partnership leaders, and I've seen him and had lunch with him one time. He's really great. But yeah, well, Jared, listen, we can't thank you enough for coming on. We'd love to have you on again, because I think we have a lot more that we want to talk about. So we'll figure out schedules, but we'd love to have you on as another repeat guest. But for today, we just can't thank you enough for coming on. You are our GOAT, because this podcast really, it was born because of our belief and our passion about Nearbound, right? How we talked about it and how we're like, we need to share what we're doing and need to talk about Nearbound and have people believe and understand it. So you're really, in a way, responsible for this podcast. So thank you for that.
Of course. Happy to come back anytime. Now that the Nearbound podcast is gone, it's like hundreds of episodes and gone. So you guys are the only reason I'm still talking partnership.
I loved your newsletter. I read it like every word on that newsletter I read every day. And I used to copy notes and highlight things and present it to sales teams. And I missed that newsletter. We should get that going again.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll spin something back out.
That'd be awesome. All right. Well, for today's episode, we had Jared Fuller, and he's been amazing. And if you have questions on our podcast, you could reach us at john@channelsurfers.com, jeff@channelsurfers.com, and we also have a LinkedIn page. You can find us on pretty much any podcasting service that's out there right now. And we'd love to hear back from you and get some feedback. But in the interim, everybody have a great day. And Jared, thank you again for being a part of this podcast.
Yeah, thank you again, Jared. Appreciate it.